Hi, I'm David Donovan, and I'm the editor-in-chief of North Carolina Lawyers Weekly, and I'd like to welcome you to our online awards ceremony for our 2021 class of Rising Stars. It's my pleasure to be with you today as we celebrate our honorees. As I've gotten to learn more about each of the incredibly impressive honorees in this year's class, the thought that has kept coming back to me time and time again is that the future of the legal profession is truly in very good hands. Over the course of this award show, you're also going to have the opportunity to meet all of our honorees, and I have no doubt that as you hear from each of them, you'll feel the exact same way. They bring energy and commitment and passion for the practice of law, but they also bring with them an infusion of new ideas and perspectives for how we as a profession can better serve our clients and our communities. I have no doubt that they'll go on to be great leaders of our profession. Obviously, this is an extraordinary time for all of us. And as you can see, we've had to change the way we celebrate our honorees this year. While we would have loved to have celebrated our rising stars in person, and we fully expect that we'll be able to do so again next year, the online format of this event does give us the opportunity to share it with as many people as possible in all corners of the state. And that's something that's very exciting. So wherever you're watching from, I'm really glad that you're here to join us for this event. Thank you for spending your time with us to be part of it today. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors for this year's event: Simonson Law Firm, Cranfield Sumner, Teague Campbell, and Modern Legal. We're very glad that they could all be a part of this event today as well. So it's my pleasure to congratulate these attorneys and their law firms. We can't wait to see all of the amazing things that these rising stars are going to accomplish in their legal careers. At this time, I'll hand over the event to our general manager, Andrea Mounts, to introduce our first honoree.
Let's welcome our first honoree, Lucas Garber from Shoemaker Loop and Kendrick. Lucas, congratulations on being a rising star for 2021.
Oh, thank you very much. And I appreciate that honor very much as well.
Well, we appreciate the fact that you've joined this class. Lucas, tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Well, I mean, first off, I'm born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is one of the very few Charlotte native Charlotteans around. I went to Elizabeth Traditional Elementary School, Alexander Graham Middle School, and then Myers Park High School. And I guess from a young age, I was always just always enjoyed instructing people, teaching people. And then, my parents always just said that, I would make a great lawyer. And so I essentially went to law school at Wake Forest and then came back to Charlotte, which is, the city I love. And just to let you know, I'm expecting my first child on May 27th, which is the date of the award ceremony. So if I'm
Congratulations.
if I'm not there, I hope that you guys understand why.
Oh, that's completely understandable. And congratulations to you and your wife.
Thank you very much.
What do you feel is your most important accomplishment to date as an attorney?
Well, I think my most important accomplishment would probably be as an associate, I was able to bring in a $70 million private equity deal, as well as a patent infringement litigation case. And this was very important to me because it showed that my clients that I've been working with for a while actually trusted me to oversee, pretty large matters. And so it was very humbling to me and also very honoring that, I've been working with these clients and they were able to trust and oversee me, or allow me to oversee them to, handle such large matters for them. So to me, that's probably been one of my, greatest accomplishments in the legal field.
Quite an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fun question for you now. If you could have any dinner with anyone, who would you choose and why?
I'd probably have dinner with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I grew up watching him wrestling, but I think he's just got a very interesting career from an athlete to professional wrestler, now to one of the most famous world movie stars. I've always been very impressed with the way he's branded himself. Seems like a very cool dude, and I really love his movies. So I feel like he'd be really interesting to have dinner with and hang out and ask him some questions, about his journey through life.
Yes, he would be an excellent candidate. I agree. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, Lucas, and congratulate you again on being one of our rising stars.
Well, thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You have a good one too.
We're now joined by LaTasia Fields from T. Campbell, Denison Gorham. LaTasia, welcome and congratulations on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming and joining us today. Tell us a bit about your background and what made you decide to become an attorney.
So I am originally from Charlotte, true Charlottean, born and raised. I always say that because I really don't think most people that live in Charlotte are actually from Charlotte anymore. So growing up, there definitely was a lot to do, a lot to see, but my older sister actually had moved to New York, and it was a trip that we took to New York to watch her try her first case that really sparked my interest in the law and made me think that I could potentially become a lawyer. And I just remember going and sitting in the courtroom and really just being in awe of the experience and seeing my sister, take such command in the courtroom. Was very, I think, empowering for me. And it really sort of set me on that path towards practicing law.
That's excellent. She must have been quite an inspiration to you.
For sure. And I also think too, when you're younger, you look up to your older siblings. I think that is a natural kind of inclination.
Sure.
But then there's a little bit of that sibling rivalry. Like if she can do it, I can do it too.
Of course. Absolutely.
For
Very
sure.
encouraging. If you hadn't become an attorney, what would you have done professionally?
So I love event planning. I think it is a perfect combination of really my interest and skill set. I love helping people, and part of what you do as an event planner is you really create experiences for people. A lot of people don't love the details, but I really get deep into the details, making sure that things flow smoothly, and kind of doing the things that sometimes people don't want to do is really where I thrive. So I would definitely have become an event planner. And I honestly still do a little bit of event planning, just not professionally. So,
Sure.
Baby showers, birthday parties, things like that have definitely kind of helped me fuel that passion as well.
Sounds like it's a good balance. The law can obviously be very stressful, but then putting on a rewarding event and seeing that instant gratification is I can certainly appreciate that. Kind of a fun question now. If you were to have dinner with anyone, either still on this earth or have passed on, who would it be and why?
Beyonce, hands down, Beyonce.
Oh, okay.
But for so many reasons, I think
Sure.
she is an icon, an absolute talent. I definitely can appreciate that she has mastered her craft, not only in terms of music, but in terms of acting and being an entrepreneur. And I also think it's really inspiring to kind of see how her career has progressed, the influence that she has on society as a humanitarian. She's always kind. I think she's a Virgo like myself. And part of me just, the perfectionist in me wants to know how she balances it all, how
Sure.
she has accomplished what she has accomplished and really remained, I think, true to herself. And obviously, because she's still alive, this is still an option. So I definitely would like to choose someone but I think that's a part of my personality too. Like I set big goals, and I would totally consider having dinner with Beyonce to be a huge life accomplishment.
I think many people would. She is quite an inspiration and a very powerful woman and a powerful influence. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today and congratulate you again on being part of the class of 2021 North Carolina Lawyers Weekly Rising Stars.
Thank you.
Incredibly insightful and driven to success.
Dedicated, motivated, and positively fiery.
Passionate and committed.
An asset and a leader in our firm and our community.
Congratulations, LaTasia.
Were We're now joined by Ben McLaughlin with McLaughlin and Russell, and congratulate him on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me. I sure appreciate this honor.
Well, we're glad to present it to you. Tell us a bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
So I grew up in Eastern North Carolina in a small town called Winterville. It's right outside of Greenville. I've kind of been an Eastern North Carolina boy, born and bred, and my experiences growing up, and really a large part of it has to deal with our family attorney who helped us handle a lot of things. And then when I was younger, in my younger days, I was a bit rebellious, and I got in trouble some. And I always looked up to him, especially in court when he was speaking and representing my case. And ever since then, I've just held lawyers in a high regard as one of the apart from a doctor, one of the two best professions you can be in. And I've always strived for excellence in my practice. And it took me a longer time to get here. I'm a second career lawyer. I was a welder and a teacher before. I've done numerous jobs, and I feel that my experiences in those positions have helped shape me into the lawyer I am today, and also helped me be able to understand others' point of view because I've probably lived it before.
Excellent. What's your proudest and most important accomplishment as an attorney to date?
So honestly, I would have to say just earning my license to practice law was my biggest accomplishment. Like I said, I mentioned before, as a second career attorney, I had a whole different pathway that brought me here. And the wide range of jobs I had before then, I worked in industry, manufacturing, construction, restaurants. I think the only thing I haven't done is retail work. But it's taught me how to, understand and empathize with people and the situations that they may be facing. And so when I was able to be afforded the opportunity to return to school and to go to law school, after the first semester, I was fortunate enough to earn a full tuition scholarship, and the culmination of which, resulted in me passing the bar exam and earning my license to practice law. And to date, that's my greatest achievement.
Excellent. A little fun question for you now. If you could have dinner with anyone, either still living or passed on, who would that be and why?
So this is a great question, by the way. My first answer to that would actually be Elon Musk. I know that this guy gets a lot of hate in the social media sphere right now, but he's truly one of the geniuses of our generation. His goals, far outseed, or his wants and dreams far exceed anything I could dream of. I think he's recognized the faults that we have on our own planet and has sought to, colonize other worlds, if you will. And I think that kind of thinking is truly what makes us as a race, the human race, very distinct on this planet, is that we're slowly outgrowing it, and that, at least some, tycoon of industry is able to recognize that, and has, basically responded appropriately by, creating electric vehicles so that, we can treat our climate better. And then also, with all the things he's done with SpaceX and trying to, go to Mars. I think that's the next greatest thing for the human race. And I think it would be fun to pick his brain for about an hour and a half.
It would certainly be interesting. And he definitely a trailblazer, that's for sure. Well, Ben, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon and congratulate you again on being a North Carolina Lawyers Weekly Rising Star.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Now we're here with Amanda Cubit from Sedoma Law. Thank you, Amanda, for joining us today, and congratulations on being one of our Rising Stars.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself and how you chose to become an attorney.
So I am one of 3 children. I'm the oldest. So I've always been kind of type A and have known what I've wanted to do since a very young age. So since high school, I've known that I wanted to be an attorney. My grandfather was an attorney. My uncle is an attorney. And so it just was in my blood.
Gotcha. Family legacy.
Yes, exactly.
Tell us a bit about your first job and how that prepares you for your role as an attorney today.
Okay. My first job was in customer service at a big retail nationwide chain. And it taught me a lot from interacting with customers, keeping customers happy, which has translated to client care, and also interacting with coworkers and colleagues to achieve a common goal.
Very good. Yeah, that's customer service and retail. I think anything in hospitality helps prepare you for anything you want to do in the future. Yeah. Speaking of which, if you were to choose to have dinner with someone either still with us or has passed on, who would it be and why?
That's a hard one. There are probably a number of people I would love to sit down and have their undivided attention, but I would have to say my mom's dad, my grandfather. And I was lucky enough to have him in my life until I was 18 years old. So he was there for high school graduation, but knew what I aspired to do with my life and hasn't been here to see it come to fruition. He was only educated through the 8th grade. And so I think he would be very excited to see all that the next generation has achieved. And I wish I could have that time to share with him.
Yes, I'm sure he'd be very proud of you, as we are all at Lawyers Weekly. Again, congratulations on being one of our rising stars.
Thank you.
Now help me welcome Trey Lauren with Goodman, Carr, Lauren, Levine, and Green, and congratulate him on being one of the 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Trey.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us today. Trey, tell us a bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Charlotte. I graduated here in Myers Park High School. And my dad was an attorney. So that kind of led me down the path of becoming an attorney as well. He just always had the most interesting stories to tell me at the dinner table about cases he was working on and clients he was representing. So that really sparked my interest. My sister is also an attorney as well. So it's kind of, I guess you could say, a family business for us. And I really just wanted to pursue what they pursued. And I really followed. My sister's 4 years older than me. So I really just followed her everywhere, including to law school. So that's really what led me down this path to become an attorney.
That's great. Sounds like they were both very inspirational.
They were. Yes, ma'am.
Had you not become an attorney, what would you have chosen as a profession?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe an airline pilot or something in real estate. And the way the market's going right now in real estate, maybe I made the wrong career choice right now. But I've always found, I've always loved being on planes and being in control. So an airline pilot or something in real estate.
Gotcha. Both great choices, and definitely for a Charlottean. Little bit of a fun question now. Well, actually, just not really a fun question, but just tell us something that we don't know about you that's not relatively evident in a conversation.
Sure. So as embarrassing as this is, I love reality TV. That's kind of my wife and I's go-to hobby after we put down my son to bed, and we've got a hour and a half to spend with each other. Right now we're watching Summer House. So as terrible as it is, it's a good type of terrible where you just kind of turn off your mind and relax and watch reality TV. So we watch The Bachelor, The Summer House, so all the reality shows we're fans of.
Well, I think you're not alone in that, because they all have very high ratings from my understanding. So, and I think COVID has also contributed a lot to people discovering the alternate reality of reality TV. So
absolutely.
That's very, very interesting. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and congratulations on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars.
Thank you so much.
Now let's welcome Chelsea Gajewski from Sodoma Law and congratulate her on being one of our 2021 Rising Stars. Congratulations, Chelsea.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Tell us about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Yes, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. And I decided to come down to North Carolina for law school. I went to undergrad for social work, and I just really enjoyed helping people. I really liked the children aspect of it. and the best area of law to go into was family law. So I really enjoy dealing with the families. I'm starting some guardian ad litem work, so I get to represent children, which is probably my favorite part of my job.
And it's very important. Guardian ad litem work is so needed and so appreciated in our community. What has been your most proud accomplishment so far since you've been an attorney?
I would say it's my guardian ad litem work. I really enjoy connecting with children and giving them that voice. I've recently been appointed as a guardian ad litem by a judge. I'm helping other judges pro bono, acting as guardian ad litems for teenagers, but also some younger children whose parents are going through a custody battle. And sometimes the parents lose sight of what's best for their kids. And I try and advocate for those children. And I think that's amazing because who else is going to speak for them?
Very true. And thank you very much for the work that you're doing. If you hadn't become an attorney, what do you think you would be doing?
I would be a social worker. I just love the interaction with people. I think meeting people is one of the best parts of this job, and any job really, connecting with different people from all over the place. So social worker, helping people get through whatever their struggles are.
Great. Thank you for your responses today. One final question. Tell us something we don't know about Chelsea.
Well, my fun fact that I tell everyone and they lose their minds is I've never been bitten by a mosquito. So that was my fun fact. Yeah. That's my fun fact. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's quite an accomplishment in the Carolinas.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. And again, congratulations on being a rising star.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now let's welcome Austin Bacchus with Redding Jones and congratulate him on being a rising star in 2021. Welcome, Austin.
Thank you, Andrea. It's a pleasure to be there.
Tell us a bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
Well, I grew up all over the United States as a military kid. My dad was in the Army and deployed multiple times. And other than that, my family has a long history of construction workers. And, a lot of them had legal disputes that no one could really help them with. And I wanted to do something where I could give back to the communities that have given so much to me. And that really what led to me becoming an attorney, just an honest desire to help family, friends in my community.
That's excellent. Tell me a bit about your first job and what you learned from that experience that you're taking into your work as an attorney.
So my first job came when I was in high school. I was a youth sports basketball referee. I would referee the 8 to 10-year-old games. And honestly, the thing that I learned the most is the importance of doing what you think is right, even when everyone around you, sometimes very, very vocally, thinks that you're wrong.
It's an important lesson to learn in the work that you do.
Absolutely.
And finally, a little fun question. Everyone has a guilty pleasure. What's yours?
I like cartoons. I watched cartoons growing up on Saturday mornings with my dad and my sister, and somehow that's happened to stick with me over the years.
No, that's great. Anything in particular?
I really like all the Justice League cartoons, DC, Marvel, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Well, it's definitely grown in popularity over the last few years. Well, Austin, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, that's definitely true, and I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Austin, I want to thank you for joining us today and congratulate you again on being one of North Carolina Lawyers Weekly's rising stars.
Thank you very much, and congrats to all the other honorees.
We're now joined by Teresa Vieira with Modern Legal, and we congratulate her on being a rising star. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I was a child of a bad divorce, family law situation that involved a bit of domestic violence and child abuse. And my mother, when I was about 12 years old, endured a very contentious litigation process that lasted for years. And as a child of that type of situation, I learned of the different areas and individuals that tried to help her, such as religious services or therapy services or the judicial system. And I found that my mother was truly able to get to a place of safety, not only for herself, but our entire family, by utilizing the judicial system. And her attorney in particular was an inspiration to me. So around the age of 12, I made that decision to pursue the practice of law and to pursue helping others, and more specifically children, in rough family law situations.
Wow, that sounds like a fascinating way to begin, and it's shows your resilience most definitely, and your career path chosen so young. That's incredible. Tell me, what's been your most important accomplishment to date as an attorney?
Honestly, my most important accomplishment, regardless of recognitions and awards, it really is knowing that a child is safer because of the work that I do. Every once in a while, I'll get that case that comes across my desk or that I have to go to the courtroom for, and we will be able to literally change that child's situation from an unhealthy, possibly dangerous situation to a healthy, more productive situation, whether that child has been experiencing abuse or child, him or herself, has had suicidal ideations, or regardless of the situation, seeing that that child is out of a bad and unhealthy situation. I mean, there are times I'll just look up at the ceiling and be like, this is my calling. This is life's calling for me. And I'm just honored that my clients have the trust and confidence in me to allow me the opportunity to help them and their children. So I can't name the children or the cases, but I can say knowing that those children are in safer situations because me and my team were able to help just helps me sleep better at night. And so that's definitely my proudest accomplishment to date.
And that is amazing. Thank you so much for the work that you do.
Well, thank you.
One question now. How is something that no one knows about Teresa?
It's funny you say that because I feel like some people know different parts of me. I am an adventure seeker. So I will go skydiving at least once a year. I used to autocross my old car from high school, go figure, which is a form of car racing. I am a trained marksman and I am a competitive ballroom dancer, and I also teach dance on the side.
Wow.
So all those random things that are just, across the board, very different, I very much enjoy, and I love trying new things.
That's amazing. Well, very, very, very well-rounded individual. And I want to congratulate you again and thank you again for the work that you're doing. And we welcome you into the 2021 class of Rising Stars.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to everyone who got this award. This is awesome.
Thank you. We're now joined by Matthew Bissett with the Whitley Law Firm. And Matthew, we congratulate you on being one of our Rising Stars.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. It is an honor, and I really appreciate the chance. So thanks.
Well, we're happy you were able to join us today. Tell us about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Andrea, I am from North Carolina. I am from Clemens, North Carolina. I don't think anybody's heard of Clemens, but it's right outside of Winston-Salem. I went to UNC undergrad. I studied political science and economics. And I went to Campbell Law School, and I've been in Raleigh ever since with the Whitley Law Firm. Believe it or not, this sounds kind of cliche, but I first knew that I wanted to be a lawyer when I was watching Law and Order with my dad as probably a 10 or 11-year-old. I just loved watching them in court, arguing and working for their clients. Also, my dad, who's a family physician in Winston-Salem, when I was growing up, he started a medical clinic for underprivileged folks in Winston-Salem. And it was something that he did, outside of his practice. He did it for free. It was volunteer work. They had donations of medications and money, but he would spend 4, 5, 6 hours every Wednesday evening at a small church in Winston-Salem, seeing folks that didn't have insurance, and just talking with them and prescribing the medications and doing small procedures for them. And I realized, wow, my dad, he works as a doctor all day, but then he also makes time to do something for people just out of the goodness in his heart and for free and give back to the community. I thought, I want to find something I can do where I can be satisfied professionally, but also be able to give back to the community. And I was squeamish. I didn't like blood. So I decided to become a lawyer instead. And so that's what brought me to law school. And I've loved doing it. And I've worked at the Whitley Law Firm ever since I graduated and just really enjoyed it. So that's how I got here.
Sounds like your father was a great inspiration in addition to Law and Order. And we're definitely happy you made that decision. If you hadn't become a lawyer, what would you have done professionally?
You know what? This is a little funny, but I would have been a professional bird watcher. I love nature, and maybe I would have found some other path other than watching animals fly around all day. But it's kind of silly, but I love being out in nature. I love birds, and maybe I would have tried to find some way to turn that into some kind of career path.
That's excellent. Well, the Carolinas are a wonderful, beautiful place to do that. If you were to have dinner with anyone, famous, non-famous, with us still or not, who would you choose and why?
I got to go with Jackie Robinson. I love baseball. I love what he did for the game of baseball. He desegregated it and was the first Black player in 1947. And it was just courageous what he did. But he's also a great baseball player at the same time. And I just would love to sit down with him and pick his brain.
It would be an excellent person to have dinner with, that's for sure. Well, Matthew, I want to thank you for your time today and congratulate you again on being one of our rising stars for 2021.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, Rising Stars, and I really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too, thanks.
Now let's welcome Santiago Aroba with the Whitley Law Firm. Congratulations, Santiago, on being one of our 2021 Rising Star honorees, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us a bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and then moved to the United States when I was 8 years old. And the entire immigration process really kind of opened my eyes to the legal world. After college, I was an insurance agent for a little bit. And then I decided, let's try this law school thing. And here I am.
Well, great, great. What's your proudest moment as an attorney thus far?
Well, I work in personal injury, so I deal with people that are typically at the lowest points of their lives, whether it's a wrongful death or catastrophic injury. And so anytime I can help someone in a situation where they couldn't help themselves, I feel proud of what I do.
Oh, well, very good. If you weren't an attorney, what would you be doing for a living?
Well, if I was not a lawyer, I'd probably try and get into architecture. All the buildings popping up all over Raleigh, I'm just amazed at all the engineering, the project management that it must take just to build that. So
sure,
I'm interested in that.
The nice mix of old and new in Raleigh as well.
Exactly, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
Well, I had listed the insurance agent part, and now you all know about that already.
Sure.
So yes, I was an insurance agent. And now that I work on the other side, it's interesting to see, how the two worlds interact.
Gotcha. I see. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and congratulations again on your award as a Rising Star.
Thank you.
We're now joined by Eric Fletcher with Brooks Pierce. Welcome, Eric, and congratulations on being one of our Rising Stars.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be in such a great group.
Well, yes, that's a fantastic group this year. Tell us a bit about your background, Eric, and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I grew up in Chapel Hill, and really from an early age, I was fairly into ideas and debating the news of the day and what was going on in politics and government and things like that, and was an only child, and so would be discussing those things with my parents and with their friends. And folks started telling me pretty early on that I probably ought to become a lawyer, and I wasn't so sure about that myself, but went to Carolina, studied political science and political philosophy, which I really enjoyed, and worked in state government for a couple of years here in Raleigh after college, and decided that those folks were right and I ought to become a lawyer because I really enjoyed all that interaction with government and cared so much about policy and law.
Oh, that's fantastic. Tell us about your proudest moment as an attorney so far.
I think one of the most meaningful experiences for me was in private practice. I was able to represent a death row inmate in Florida in a case called Hurst v. Florida that was heard in the United States Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled 8-1 that Florida's death penalty scheme was unconstitutional. It required changes in how Florida implements its death sentencing laws, and led to a resentencing for our client as well. So that was a really impactful pro bono representation that I was able to do as a relatively young attorney.
That sounds very impactful. I'm sure that was a wonderful experience to be a part of. Everyone has a guilty pleasure. Tell me, what is yours?
Well, on a hot day, especially back in North Carolina, after 10 years in Massachusetts, I was ready to be back in North Carolina. On a hot day, an ice cold Dr. Pepper is one of my favorite little guilty pleasures. I'm approaching the age where maybe I ought not to be drinking too much soda, and I'm trying to keep it away from my kid, but it's hard to resist, especially if you can get that pellet ice, the little small ice. It's so delicious.
That sounds delicious right now, even though it's raining out. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations again on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars.
Thanks so much for including me, and great to meet you and talk with you.
We're now joined by Elizabeth Ray with Crumley Roberts, and congratulate her on being one of our 2021 Rising Stars. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Tell us about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Sure. So I'm from a small town called Bassett. That's located in Southern Virginia. I came from a wonderful, supportive family of blue-collar workers who really taught me the value of hard work and dedication. I decided in high school that I was interested in becoming an attorney and never looked back. I attended undergraduate at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and later went to law school at Elon University School of Law in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I now reside and work at Crumley Roberts.
Great. Yes, we're very familiar with Elon. They partner with us on our Leaders in the Law Award each year. Great school. If you hadn't decided to become an attorney, what career path would you have chosen?
I've always been interested in journalism, and a fun fact, I was the editor of my middle school newspaper, and sort of helped with the yearbook and stuff like that. So I certainly would have been interested in that as a career. More specifically, now that I've had some exposure to, sort of the courtroom and the folks inside, I can picture myself as a crime reporter. I've met a few of those folks, and I'm just fascinated by their work and sort of how they're able to share with the public what's going on inside of the courtroom.
Yeah, it's a very, very important job and a very specific skill set, I believe, to be able to do that type of work. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
I am a first-generation professional and a very proud one at that. I was the first in my family to earn an undergraduate degree, and so I'm the first attorney in my family.
Congratulations to you. And also congratulations on being selected as one of our rising stars for 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now welcomed by Micah Simonson with Simonson Law Firm. Thank you, Micah, for joining us, and congratulations on being one of our rising stars.
Thank you, Ms. Mounts. It's an honor to be here.
Tell us a bit about yourself and how you decided to become an attorney.
Well, I grew up in a family of teachers and attorneys. My grandfather was an attorney in Bertie County. My aunt and uncle are attorneys in Asheville. And my father is an attorney. And I guess I had a lot of role models in the legal profession. And that sort of was one of the driving factors for me to become a lawyer.
Well, very good. Had you not become an attorney, what do you think you would have done for a living? What profession would you have pursued?
I would have probably become a history professor or an archaeologist. I'm very interested in history, and I grew up in an area where there's a ton of history, from Native American history to colonial history. Edenton was the first capital of North Carolina, the colonial capital of North Carolina, and then New Bern became it. So I grew up in an area of rich history. So that sort of would have been my alternate route if I had not become an attorney.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you would have been very successful there as well. Now, a fun question for you. If you could have dinner with anyone, either with us now or passed on, who would you choose and why?
That's such an incredibly difficult question, because there's so many people that I'd love to pick their brains and have dinner with. But it would probably be Thomas Jefferson. At NC State for undergraduate, I was a Thomas Jefferson scholar, which was sort of designed to be a dual degree program with sciences and humanities. And I feel like Thomas Jefferson would hold a fascinating conversation, and we could cover a wide berth of topics and sort of pick his brain on interdisciplinary ideas about whether it's social, economic, or political topics. He would be a fascinating one to have dinner with.
He certainly would. It would be very interesting to hear his take on what's going on with the country today. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, Micah, thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, congratulations on being one of North Carolina Lawyers Weekly's rising stars.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mounts.
Micah Simonson has been an asset to Simonson Law Firm, the legal profession, and his community. We are thrilled to have him as a partner. Mike has exemplified the excellence that we seek to achieve at Simonson Law Firm, and we agree he is a rising star.
We are now joined by Tiffany Weber with Thomas & Weber, and we congratulate her on being one of the Rising Star honorees for 2021. Congratulations, Tiffany.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a bit about yourself and how you chose to become an attorney.
Well, I am from North Carolina, specifically the Charlotte area. And if you're from North Carolina, like everyone is that's watching this, probably, you know, it's rare to be from North Carolina. Everybody has moved here from somewhere else. So I grew up in the Piedmont area, in the country, really not a lot around me, and, you know, just kind of grew up from modest means, and first person in my family to go to college. And I actually did not know that I wanted to go to law school right away. So I got out of undergraduate and I started working for several years. And that's when I developed the idea, oh, maybe I want to go to law school, because the company that I was working with, I worked in a channel that dealt with the legal team all the time, almost every day. And I just admired them. I liked the work they did. And I thought, oh, this could be for me. So that's what made me decide to go to law school.
Well, very good. How'd you not become an attorney? Where do you think your career would have taken you?
I would have stayed at that company. I worked at Electrolux Major Appliances, and it's a great company. It's a global company with headquarters in Sweden. And my ultimate goal at the time was to make it into a job that would go to work in Sweden and live there for, 5 to 10 years. Usually at the company, they would send you there for, up to a decade, and then you'd get to come back or, move around in the company. And I really liked that job. So I probably would have stayed there.
Well, very good. A little bit of a fun question now. Everybody has a guilty pleasure. What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, goodness. I can't believe I'm saying this on a recorded interview. Pepperoni pizza Lunchables. They're just so simple. I'm a real estate attorney and we're busy all day long, thankfully. So we've got closings back to back, and they're just so easy to eat when you've got like 5 minutes between seeing clients, and they taste good. I mean, I don't have children, but I imagine parents probably eat their kids' food all the time. So we'll just pretend it's like that. It's true. Okay, good.
Yeah, oh, yes, it does. So great. Well, I want to thank you, Tiffany, for joining us this afternoon, and congratulate you again on being part of our Rising Stars class.
Thank you, Andrea.
Please help me welcome Cheyenne Chambers with Tim Fulton, Walker, and Owens, and one of our Rising Stars for 2021. Congratulations, Cheyenne.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me a bit about your background and what made you decide to become an attorney.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I spent the first 10 or 11 years of my life in Cleveland, and I moved to the suburbs of Cleveland, in Twinsburg, Ohio. And I graduated from Twinsburg High School in 2007. Gosh. But when I was in high school, I took an AP government class. And during one of the simulation weeks, we were doing the US Supreme Court. And so the teacher kind of went around the room and started to appoint justices to our, moot court. And I was the final justice that he selected for the simulation. And I fell in love with the whole, process of researching legal issues. We had a First Amendment issue about the Pledge of Allegiance and whether it violates the Establishment Clause. And I fell in love with the whole concept of the research and also of the role of being a jurist. And so from that simulation, I said, I have to go to law school. And it's also a long-term goal of mine to become a federal judge.
Well, that's excellent. Excellent. Great goal to have. What makes you most proud today in your work as an attorney?
Yeah, there's so many things, but I would have to say that I really am proud of the work that I'm doing in the appellate litigation realm. Women of color in particular are very underrepresented in that part of the profession. And so I think it's just an honor to really be a part of any appeal process, whether it's researching issues, drafting briefs, or actually arguing cases at the podium.
Excellent and very, very important work. A little bit of a fun question now for you. If you could have dinner with anyone, either still on the earth or has passed on, who would it be and why?
Yeah, this was a tough question for me to answer, but I would say as of recent, Pauli Murray. A lot of people do not know about Pauli's work. Pauli was a civil rights attorney that actually influenced Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Justice Thurgood Marshall. And a lot of their work is still relevant to what's going on in today's world. And so it would be really great to just sit down with a legend like that and pick their brain.
Yes, I'm sure that would be a very, very interesting conversation. And she would have amazing insight into what our world is facing today. Well, I want to thank you, Cheyenne, for joining us today and congratulate you on receiving the Rising Stars Award for North Carolina Lawyers Weekly. Very well deserved.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now Now let's welcome Kim Marston with Brooks Pearson. Let's give her a big congratulations for being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Well, I grew up outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and then got moved to Florida. Had my accent teased out of me, and I wish I had known then that that was a good thing. Wanted to be a trial lawyer in North Carolina. And I actually stumbled into becoming a lawyer. I was in my senior year of at Duke University working on an honors thesis in philosophy. I was reading the torture papers and the torture memos that were done in the Bush administration. And it was very intriguing to me, the legal wrangling that was done and the reasoning to get there. And I thought, you know, I want to get into that, that field and the intellectual challenges that are there. So I decided to go to law school relatively late in my undergrad career and fell in love with litigation.
Fantastic. And that sounds like a very inspirational reading in case that you that made you make that decision. Tell us about your first job and what you learned from that experience.
Yeah, I actually, my first job was at a zoo. We had a local zoo in Florida where I was going to high school. And I started as a volunteer and then started working there on the weekends and the summers. So I would work in our education department, taking care of all of the animals that we would then use to do programming with people in the zoo and special programs with children. And so it was a really very interesting and fun first job. And I got to learn a lot about how to share my passions with other people and how to connect with them using our animals and promoting conservation.
It sounds like an excellent first job and employment experience there.
I can't complain.
Little fun question now. If you could have dinner with anyone, whether they be famous, non-famous, still with us or passed on, who would that be and why?
I would actually choose Justice Kagan, and not just because of her role in the Supreme Court now, though I'm sure that would lead to a lot of interesting discussions. She was actually the first U.S. Solicitor General, a woman, to be confirmed as the U.S. Solicitor General, and the only one since. And that was only about a decade ago. And so I'm really inspired by the women who have broken the glass ceilings before us in the legal career, and there are still more to go. And so I'm thankful for them, and I'd love to hear her perspective on having done that so recently.
Yeah, she is definitely an inspiration and will be a great dinner companion, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations to you on being one of our rising stars.
Thank you so much for the honor.
Let's welcome Manny Clark with Fox Rothschild and congratulate him on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Manny.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually went to Harding High down in Charlotte, then Davidson, and finally Duke for law school. The decision to become an attorney, I think, was one made when I was a kid. You know, this might be the cliche, but I was one of those kids who just really liked to argue. While I don't argue, I don't argue all that much or any in court. I do a fair amount of negotiating in the course of my practice. And so I think it was a good fit from a personality standpoint. And I'm glad I made it.
Well, very good. Had you not chosen law as a profession, what direction would you have gone in?
I think this was a really interesting question when it was initially posed as well. I never thought about it too hard. Law was also always a first choice. So my dad was a banker in Charlotte for a long time, and probably besides law, my biggest connection with any profession was banking. And so I figured I would have probably followed in my dad's footsteps in that case, which isn't so bad.
Plenty of opportunity there as well.
Absolutely.
Especially in Charlotte.
Especially in Charlotte.
Absolutely. One of our fun questions for you now. Everyone has a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
What's yours?
Sure. So I think on the when this question was initially posed, it was something like Italian wine, which was probably just the first thing that could possibly come to mind for me. I'd still hold to that. Maybe in addition, and I think I discussed this a little bit, I probably play video games a little bit too much for both my wife's desire and patience, but she tolerates me, and so it's a fun pastime and a good way to relax after a long day of practice.
I would agree on both counts, the video games and the Italian wine.
Amen. Very good.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, and congratulations on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Now let's welcome Catherine Mitchell with Fox Rothschild. She joins the 2021 class of Rising Stars honorees. Congratulations, Catherine.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about your background and why you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Asheville, North Carolina. My family is, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather started a clothing store in town, and my dad kind of carried on with that business and expanded it. So growing up, I'm not the kind of person who always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I did love history and reading and politics. So I went to Swanee, a small liberal arts school in Tennessee, and I was a history major. And then after college, I thought I might want to go to law school, but I wasn't sure. So I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And my alternative career idea was to maybe go into journalism. So I worked at a magazine and also at a PR firm. But I ultimately decided I was more interested in the law. And so I went to law school at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. And I really loved it. Just learning about the law. And it was fascinating, and I'm glad I made that choice.
Great. Tell us about your first job and how that prepares you for what you're doing now.
My first job was actually at the Limited 2 in the mall. I think I was driving, so I was like 16. I think I had just gotten my license. It was funny because even though my family's in the clothing business, I did not like working at that job at all. Just being on your feet all day and folding clothes and rearranging the clothes, it was not for me. But I think it did make me want to study hard and ultimately have a job where I can sit down a little bit more. So
understandable. Tell us something that we don't know about you or that's not at the forefront.
Sure. So I love to ski, and especially love going to Colorado. I was able to go actually about 2 months ago. It was amazing. When I was in high school, I was actually on the ski team here in Western North Carolina. And I did win second place in women's downhill. I mean, it is Western North Carolina, so I'm not Lindsey Vonn or anything, but I love it. It's fun. So
that's great. Yeah, it's a fantastic sport, and we have some beautiful areas to explore here in the Carolinas and even Virginia. So thank you so much for joining us here today, and congratulations on being one of our Rising Stars.
Thank you so much.
Now let's welcome Daniel Lord with Kilpatrick, Townsend, and congratulate him on being one of our Rising Star honorees. Congratulations, Daniel.
Thanks, Andrea. I appreciate the honor. It's great to be honored alongside a lot of other great attorneys with some really great firms here in North Carolina. So thank you.
Well, we're happy to have you. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. I'm actually not from North Carolina originally. I grew up in Duncanville, Texas, a small suburb outside of Dallas. I had a pretty normal upbringing there, and it was really once I got into college at Texas A&M and took some business law courses there, and I worked for a law firm right out of undergrad in Dallas, and decided to go to law school from there. And the decision was largely being able to help people reach their either personal or business goals. And so that's why I ended up going to law school and becoming an attorney.
Well, great. What do you feel has been your largest accomplishment to date since becoming an attorney?
It's hard to say any single accomplishment aside from, graduating law school and passing the bar exam. And I think a lot of my fellow attorneys would agree with that. But one thing that immediately comes to mind is just the ability of myself and our real estate team here at Kilpatrick Townsend to adapt and overcome during the ongoing pandemic to still meet our ongoing client needs and demands, and still be able to help them reach their business goals, even with the uncertainty of the ongoing pandemic.
Well, that is quite an accomplishment. So you should be proud of that. Now for one of our fun questions. Everybody has a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
What is yours?
I have a ton. One that immediately comes to mind is Two Roosters Ice Cream. It's local here in Raleigh, and we live right down the street. And so it's great on a spring or summer afternoon or evening, walk the dogs up there, get some ice cream. Unfortunately, it's a little too close, so I have to watch myself and monitor how many times I go up there, but it's really wonderful.
Well, the walk helps
yeah, exactly.
work out those calories. Well, that's great. Well, again, thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on becoming part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars.
Thank you so much. It's great to be honored, and I think it's a testament to what a great team we have here at Kilpatrick Townsend.
Thank you, Daniel.
I appreciate the time.
I'd now like to introduce Meredith Hamilton with Cranfield Sumner and congratulate her on being one of our 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
Yeah, so I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, with both my parents. My younger sister, Jennifer. Jennifer now lives in Atlanta. My parents still live in St. Louis. And I was always really interested in politics and history and just all the things related to the law. My aunt is actually a law professor, or she's recently retired in St. Louis. And so when we were younger, I was always interested in what she did for work, and she would explain to me her career and what she's done. So that kind of inspired me somewhat to get into the legal field. And then I always knew I wanted to go to law school, even if I wasn't going to practice law. So I went to Clemson for undergrad, did political science, and then went straight to law school at Wake Forest.
Great. Sounds like your aunt was very inspirational to you.
Yes.
Tell us about your first job and what you learned from that experience.
Yeah, so my first job was at a day spa called Go Spa, also in St. Louis. I was 15. So usually my mom would drop me off until I got my license, and then I was able to go drive myself. But my role was to do the laundry for the spa. So there were, towels, and they would have steam towels and all different kinds of things for the individuals who were actually providing the services to the customers. So it was important to have the things that they needed. So I would do laundry upon laundry upon laundry. And I enjoy cleaning and things like that. So it wasn't, too burdensome, but at the same time, it was one of those things where it just felt like it was never ending as far as how much there was to get done. So it was a great experience. The people I worked with were awesome. And I got a discount at the spa, so that was fun too.
Oh, that's always important.
Yeah.
I have a similar background. I worked in spas myself when I was
yeah.
So I can relate.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is your guilty pleasure?
So I love, we recently got a dog and she's awesome. And I created an Instagram account for her. And so my guilty pleasure is maintaining that. It's fun because we've connected with other, she's an Australian Shepherd. So we've connected with other Australian Shepherd owners in Charlotte. And then we're able to keep up with the other litter mates in her litter. So that's been really fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's been great getting to know you these few minutes. I want to thank you for joining us this morning and congratulate you on your award.
Thank you very much.
Now let's welcome Eleanor Gilroy with Cranfield Sumner and also congratulate her on being one of our 2021 Rising Star honorees. Congratulations, Eleanor.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Great. Tell us a bit about yourself and how you chose law as a profession.
I am from the crossroads of Western civilization, also known as Tarboro, North Carolina, a very small town in Eastern North Carolina. I call it the crossroads of Western civilization because it's uncanny how far you can travel and either meet someone who knows someone from Tarboro or has been to Tarboro themselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I became an attorney because my grandfather is an attorney, and I always looked up to him and wanted to emulate him and be like him. And said, I've always had this picture in my head. Well, I want to be like Granddad. He's an attorney. So that's how I went to law school.
Gotcha. Tell me about your first job and how that prepares you for what you're doing now.
My first job was babysitting. I babysat a family of 5 children, all under the age of 7, and I was paid.
Wow.
Yeah, I was paid $7 an hour. So it was a great deal for the parents, and I didn't realize how great of a deal that was until later on.
Yes.
Because they were a handful, but I loved it, and I loved being with those children who are now adults. And I like to say their only slip up to date is having gone to UNC Chapel Hill. I went to NC State. So
okay.
That's the only slip up. What I learned from that is the value of negotiating your pay up front, but also if you love what you do, time passes quickly, and I love what I'm doing at my job at Cranfield Sumner, and time flies.
That's great. Tell us something about you that not very many people know.
This is interesting. Growing up in Eastern North Carolina, I was very involved in 4-H. And with that, I was on this team that did horse judging. And people are always like, what is horse judging? But we would go out and we would judge horses and their physical appearance. And I was on the state championship team for horse judging when I was 12. And so that's something most people don't know. And unbelievably, I was able to use my hippology knowledge recently in a litigation matter. And my partners were very impressed in how I knew all this horse knowledge. And so I did share with them that I was involved in 4-H and had this background.
It's amazing how that came full circle for you.
It is. I would have never thought that.
No, that's fantastic. Well, Eleanor, thank you so much for being with us today. And again, congratulations on receiving this award.
Thank you so much.
Now we're joined by Levi Houston with Cranfield Sumner. Thank you, Levi, for joining us today, and congratulations on being one of our rising stars.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Great. Now tell us about your background and how you became an attorney, how you decided to become an attorney.
So I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, and grew up in a very solid blue collar family. My dad was a contractor, and honestly, growing up, that was not something that was ever on my radar. And as I got older, I spent time working for contractors, and it was a great experience in that you learn the value of hard work, and you probably will never laugh so hard in your life unless you spend some time on like a construction site. It's a tough job, but people make it a lot more bearable with some humor. But the other thing you realize too is that it's a very tough job, and you grow to respect folks that do it day in and day out. And I started to realize, man, there's got to be maybe a different path out there. And that sort of set me towards college and then eventually onto law school.
Great. What would you say is your most important accomplishment to date, being an attorney?
So that one's really tough. Generally speaking, you enjoy the idea of being able to help people, and being an attorney is unique in that you can win. Sometimes winning looks, different in different contexts, but it's a competitive endeavor. But I'll say one of the more interesting, enjoyable things I was able to do is utilize some wiretapping, federal and state wiretapping statutes in the domestic context back when I was practicing in Virginia to, help out a client. And that was very satisfying because it was unique and a little bit novel.
Sounds like it, definitely. Fun question now. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
So I've always done sports growing up, but in college, I actually spent some time playing intramural rugby, which was a lot of fun, a little bit different, not, traditionally very popular sport in the United States, but a lot of camaraderie, physicality, and, always good to keep with the competition. So that was a fun, enjoyable experience in college.
We want to thank you for your time today and sharing about yourself, and congratulate you again on being one of our rising stars, Levi.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate you having me on here.
This is Marshall Wall, managing partner of Cranfield Sumner, and I wanted to congratulate our 3 Rising Stars winners this year, representing our 3 offices. They are Meredith Hamilton, Eleanor Gilroy, and Levi Houston. Congratulations and great work. We're very proud of you. Go team.
We're now joined by Audrey Snyder with Ward Black Law, and we congratulate her on being part of the 2021 class of Rising Stars. Congratulations, Audrey.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a bit about yourself and why you chose to become an attorney.
Sure. I am originally from West Virginia, but spent my high school years in the mountains of North Carolina, so mountain girl all around. I'm the oldest of 5 children, so I often tell people that I don't know what to do with quiet moments in life. But at a young age, I developed a passion for advocating for those whose circumstances made it difficult for them to speak for themselves. So actually, it was child advocacy and adoption that piqued my interest in the law. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you were to become an attorney, what direction do you think your career would have gone in?
Yeah, so in undergrad, I majored in psychology, which I utilize, I think, daily as a counselor of law. But if I had not gone to law school, I think that I would have pursued a counseling career and probably focused my attention on children and families. I'm still super passionate about children and families, although I practice today in an entirely different area where I'm still privileged to be able to interact with families who have been injured, usually by occupational diseases. So.
Well, we thank you very much for the work that you're doing. A little fun question now. Everybody has a guilty pleasure. What's yours?
Oh my. Okay, so I have 2. The first is just binge watching a true crime documentary. My husband and I will spend sometimes embarrassingly a whole Saturday watching a true crime documentary. I also love to play pickleball or tennis. Pickleball is a little bit new for me, but it's just a fun hobby that gets me outside and staying active. So love it.
That's excellent. For what it's worth, I think the binge watching has become a cultural thing since COVID. So I wouldn't feel so bad. And obviously the pickleball is very interesting. So Well, thank you for letting us get to know you. And again, congratulations on becoming one of the North Carolina Lawyers Weekly's Rising Stars.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let's welcome Gagan Gupta with Painter Law and congratulate him on being part of the class of 2021 Rising Stars. Welcome, Gagan.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about your background and what made you choose the law as a profession.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So I was basically born and raised almost in Belmont, North Carolina, a tiny little mill town outside Charlotte in Gaston County. And, grew up to working class parents who kind of instilled in me the values of hard work and education. But unbeknownst to them, they also have these massive hearts. And so I picked up this value sort of implicitly of public service. And as I was graduating college and going through my 20s, engaging in various kinds of public service, I was constantly bumping up against lawyers. And the language they spoke, the work they were doing, whether they were practicing law or not, appealed to me. I spent some time in DC working in President Obama's administration at the White House. And they say, at least, that DC has more lawyers per capita than any city in the world. I don't know if that's true. It certainly felt true. And so, yeah, with their mentorship and encouragement, I decided to go to law school. And I'm thrilled to be back home in North Carolina and honored by this recognition. I came here with the hope of participating and helping in my state legally, politically, professionally, and just really grateful to be here. And I'm a happy lawyer. So I'm thrilled with the decision and with my career so far.
What an excellent story. What would you say has been your biggest accomplishment to date as an attorney?
Yeah, well, so I was working at a law firm in Raleigh when the pandemic hit, and my now wife and I were actually planning our wedding at a little French bistro here in Durham, North Carolina, where we live, called Vin Rouge, for Labor Day weekend, September 2020. And we called up the ownership when the pandemic happened and said, hey, do you think our wedding's going to happen? And they obviously said, hey, we don't know. Your wife's an epidemiologist. You know as much as we do, if not more. So I said, okay, well, how can I help out? Well, one thing led to another. I started reviewing their insurance policy, spoke with my very good friend, Stuart Painter, who founded the Painter Law Firm. And he said, hey, let's litigate these cases together. So we did. There are thousands of these cases around the country seeking business interruption coverage for policyholders, restaurants, bars, hair salons, gymnasiums, and the like. In our lead case, captioned North State Deli versus Cincinnati Insurance Company, on behalf of Matt Kelly, Georgios Bacchus, and 16 restaurants across the Triangle, was the first case in the country to secure a final judgment in favor of policyholders, requiring the insurance company to secure coverage. So just really thrilled with that decision. It was a hard-fought case, and it is up on appeal, but our hope is, and the work we're doing at Painter Law in this particular portfolio, is to try to help our state's businesses and nonprofits secure some recovery money during this pandemic. So just really, really excited about that outcome, looking forward to the appeal, but really proud of that work and hoping that that will be the first step in what is a continued success for policyholders in the state.
Wow, you should be proud of that. That is excellent.
Thanks.
Excellent. If you could have dinner with anyone, either still here or passed on, who would it be and why?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I'm not sure, but I'd say I have sort of two answers if I can cheat a little bit. One would be my grandparents. My folks immigrated here from India, and it was just my mother, father, sister, and I, and we're sort of on an island unto ourselves in terms of family connections. And I've only been back to India a few times, or visited, I should say. And so some deeper understanding of that life, of where my parents came from, and as a result, things that have informed who I am would be, I think, a real treat. But the other, which is sort of maybe a different direction, would be President Jimmy Carter. I've been sort of reading a lot about him as, people are visiting him and paying their respects as he's perhaps in his twilight years. And I think the sort of consensus is growing that he was ahead of his time in many respects. And I think he's finally getting the appreciation and that he deserves. I've spent some time at the Carter Center in Atlanta, where my wife is from. And I think that would be a pretty extraordinary evening with former President Carter.
It certainly would. And also with your grandparents to learn more about history.
Yes.
Well, Gagan, thank you so much for being with us today. And we look forward to learning more about you as your career progresses and congratulate you on receiving this Rising Stars Award.
Thank you so much. This is a real honor, and I'm grateful to be among a fabulous group of young lawyers.
Thank you. Now let's welcome Megan Stacy with Shoemaker, Loop, and Kendrick and congratulate her on being one of the 2021 Rising Stars. Congratulations, Megan.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea.
Tell us a bit about yourself and why you chose to become an attorney.
I'm Megan. I'm from Thomasville, North Carolina. I loved history and civics classes in high school, so I thought I wanted to be a history teacher. So I go to college, I start taking some political science classes to complement my history and education major, and found a great mentor and a professor in my poli-sci classes that recommended law school as a great fit. And the idea obviously stuck, and that's what brought me here today.
Well, very good. If you weren't an attorney, what would you have chosen as a career path?
I would have been a high school history teacher, and I think I would have enjoyed it. A different kind of challenge than the challenges I face now, but I'm glad the path I've chosen, especially with remote learning over the past year. I would not want to have dealt with that on the teacher side of it.
Quite a challenge for teachers and parents alike. It certainly was. Fun question now. Everyone has a guilty pleasure.
Yes.
What is yours?
Mine is playing games. I'm a competitive person, and I play everything from poker to dominoes to board games and video games. It's always been something I do to unwind. I don't get as much time now. I have 2 young boys at home, but they're finally getting to the age and toddler age where we can start playing with them as well and getting them involved in some family fun.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations on receiving the Rising Stars Award.
Thank you, Andrea.
Please join us in welcoming J.M. Jernovich with Pointer Scroll and congratulate him on being one of our 2021 Rising Star honorees. Congratulations, J.M.
Thank you.
Tell us about your background and how you decided to become an attorney.
I grew up in a small town in Virginia called Independence, and my grandfather was a lawyer in town, a solo practitioner. And as a kid after school, I'd always go to his office and kind of hang out. I'd watch him work. And I always just looked up to him. I admired how folks in the community would always come to him in times of need, and he'd be able to help them out. And, I always I looked up to that and wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. And so I guess from a pretty young age, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer.
Well, very good. Sounds like he was very inspirational to you. What has been your most important accomplishment to date since you have become an attorney?
I've had the fortune to work with a lot of really outstanding lawyers here at Pointer Scroll, and so I've gotten to come along on a lot of incredible cases from county courthouses to the U.S. Supreme Court. But personally speaking, one of the cases that really sticks out in my mind was an opportunity I had to serve as lead counsel on a federal religious freedoms challenges involving religious freedoms in North Carolina's prison system. And that was just a really eye-opening experience in a number of respects, and was pleased to be able to get the state policy changed at the end of the day and make a difference in our clients' lives.
That sounds like a fascinating case.
It was, yes.
What would you say your guilty pleasure is? A little bit of a fun question now for you. But if you had a guilty pleasure, if you have one, what is it?
Sure. Right now, my wife would probably tell you it's my obsession with C.J. Box novels. They're kind of these Western novels that I just can't put them down. We went out to Montana earlier this year, and I picked one up in a local bookstore, and now I've read, I don't know, maybe 13 or 14 of them. I can't put them down.
That's great. That sounds like an interesting read. Well, I want to thank you, Jam, for joining us today. And again, congratulate you on being selected as one of our rising stars.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.
This concludes our event. So let's have a big virtual round of applause for all of our honorees. Let's also thank our sponsors once again, Simonson Law Firm, Cranfield Sumner, Pete Campbell, and Modern Legal. We hope you've enjoyed the presentation, and if so, don't forget to press the like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you know of a deserving attorney who should be considered for our 2022 Rising Stars Award, please pay it forward and nominate. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you next year.